lots of action today inside that courtroom. We had jury selection, we have motion hearings, but let's begin with jury selection and where we stand right now.
Well, those jurors that qualified, about 123-25 or so, return tomorrow. Now, 80 will be randomly selected for strike, is what the judge said, and that's when more specific questioning may happen. The strikes will be exercised. We know typically here the defense has 10 peremptory strikes, prosecution 5, and of course as many as they want for challenges for cause. We expect that to transpire again. Those jurors expect to be back here 11 a.m. Eastern, and today we see there he is right there, Alex Murdaugh arriving to court. He arrives around 9 a.m. on the dot every day from the Colleton County Jail. Inside the courtroom, he put on his sport coat and again was quite interactive with his attorneys and taking a lot of notes during jury selection, and even in this motions hearing this afternoon after jury selection, he walked in after the attorneys had been visiting quite a while, the gallery filling up, and I noticed his face light up. And a woman sitting on the second row turns out to be his sister Lynn, the first family member of the Murdaugh family to be present inside the court so far during his trial. His face lit up, he smiled, he mouthed back and forth to her, "Great to see you, how you doing?" And then he sat and took his seat, and then as we waited for the hearing to begin, he turned completely around in his seat, stared back at her, and you can see I'm kind of sitting behind her, and again started mouthing to her, you know, "How you doing? Great, I'm glad you're here." They also held hands for quite a while there before the hearing started, Michael. So that was interesting to see. She seems like a very nice person. She was visiting to many people who were in the gallery for this big motions hearing this afternoon.
All right, Shanley. Now, the judge, he heard arguments about many outstanding motions. We've talked about those, but let's talk about the gun casings from a Blackout 300 assault rifle that could link Alex Murdaugh, or at least a weapon he bought, to Maggie's murder.
Exactly. That's huge for the prosecution. This hearing this afternoon is what's called a counsel hearing in the state of South Carolina under Rule of Evidence 702, which essentially the prosecution had to put on their expert to show the judge that he's qualified, that the science behind his conclusions is reliable, and that the evidence he would present is helpful to the trier of fact. Ultimately, after his direct and cross, the judge agreed, allowing his testimony, and that's, like I said, big for this prosecution because there are these 300 Blackout shell casings that were found near Maggie's body. There's also 300 Blackout rifle shell casings found near the home. And this expert says that these casings matched each other and could have been cycled through the exact same 300 assault rifle. Now, we know that this weapon was used to kill Maggie Murdaugh, but also Alex Murdaugh, we learned, purchased a Blackout, in fact 2 Blackout 300 rifles, but one was stolen and one is unaccounted for. That leaves us to believe that that is the murder weapon. So again, tying the murder weapon of Maggie Murdaugh to a member of the Murdaugh family living at that home at the time is really big for these prosecutors, especially that Alex Murdaugh was the one who purchased it and happened to be stolen. So they also compared it to the other 300 Blackout rifle that was found on the property. This expert could not definitively conclude that those shell casings were cycled through the one weapon that was found, but that these shell casings matched in a way that his expert opinion and his experience led him to believe that. So ultimately, that was what the hearing was today. But let's listen to the attorney say it in a better way. First, Creighton Waters talks about exactly what the prosecution has.
The cases found around the body of Maggie Murdaugh match, or at least match pursuant to the analysis of the firearms examiner, weathered cases that were found at other places on the Moselle property, and we believe substantial evidence shows that that they are from a 300 Blackout AR-style rifle that was purchased by Alex Murdaugh and can no longer be accounted for.
Now, the defense the entire purpose of their motion was to pick apart the basis of this expert's opinion, given that they don't have the actual murder weapon here. Let's take a listen to Jim Griffin on cross of this firearms expert.
What's the basis for his opinion that they had to be fired from the same gun? What studies have been done to establish that like fingerprints, which is their theory, that only one 300 Blackout made in the world would produce those markings in the era of mass production of extractors, ejectors, and so, you know, we were asking what's the basis of his opinion for that. We cited studies that are critical, but you know, we don't know of any 300 Blackout studies that have ever been done, and so, you know, that is the basis of our motion.
So that was a motion, of course, won by the prosecutors. Other motions taken up this afternoon dealing with the forensics blood spatter evidence of two experts for the prosecution. Judge ultimately, well, the parties agreeing and judge agreeing, they're going to cross that bridge when it comes up during the trial, Michael.
Yeah, actually, I want to follow up on that because one of the interesting things about this case in many jurisdictions, a lot of these issues are taken care of in these motions in limine or pretrial motions, but the judge seemed to say, look, I'm not really big on these motions in limine. He wants to wait until it comes up at trial, including this issue of financial crimes, which he said, and I thought to myself immediately was, we could have a bunch of little mini trials within this trial.
Exactly, that is what we're going to see transpire. He was not comfortable. He felt he didn't have the precedent to grant a motion in limine to add evidence to a case that he does not know the evidence yet of the case. Basically was his reasoning here. So when this comes up during the trial, they'll take these matters up outside the presence of the jury, argue them, and he'll decide whether or not to allow it in, including, like you said, the key motive issues, the alleged financial turmoil and thefts of Alex Murdaugh. That's something that the judge will also take up at the time. He wasn't going to grant that now.